Labels for rock music records. But first we have a warning of our own. We're about to play some music videos with lyrics you might find offensive or you might not want your children to hear. It is by no means the most explicit material you can find in today's popular music, but it will give you some idea of why some people are concerned. At least 2 national groups want labels on records, telling buyers when the contents are violent, occult, or as in these examples, sexual in nature. Critics call music like that porn rock. There's going to be a Senate hearing on the subject tomorrow, chaired by Senator John Danforth of Missouri. He's joining us in Washington this morning with one side of the coin. And with the other side is Frank Zappa, rock star and record producer. Good morning, gentlemen, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Let me begin with you, Senator. I was watching your face while you were watching those videos, and you did not look pleased with them. What is it about them that irritates you so?
Well, I think what we're seeing now is something that really is a new breakthrough in music. It is unknown, and to the best of my knowledge, in any other form of music, and that is explicit sex, often violent sex, glorification of rape, glorification of sadomasochism, beyond the sexual area, almost stimulating people to suicide, to violence, Satanism. And I think that one of the concerns is that not only that this is going on in some forms of rock music, not all rock music, but some rock music, but the fact that kids who are sometimes quite young are going out and buying these records without their parents really knowing anything about it. And the big debate that's going on now is whether there should be some more information out there in the public, and particularly available to parents, so that parents can exercise some sort of value system or some sort of control within their own families.
Okay, but very often, as we all know, children go out and buy these records, even despite the fact that their parents know that there will be a warning on them. But you are going to talk about this in a hearing tomorrow. What is the goal of the hearings you'll be holding?
Well, the goal of the hearing is to put this all out in the public domain and to allow the American value system to operate on it. Nobody is suggesting legislation. Nobody is suggesting that Congress prohibit anything, or even that Congress enforce some labeling provision. There are negotiations now that are going on between private groups and record companies for a voluntary labeling system. But basically the object of the hearing is to put the whole issue before the American people, so that the content of some of these recordings is something that people are talking about.
Mr. Zappa, how do you feel about that? This is your business, you make these records. Do you feel that perhaps you're poisoning the minds of America's young?
Well, first of all, I don't make those records. I make an entirely different kind of music. I think that music does not poison people's minds. I think that this hearing is a waste of time. I think that the pressure groups that have decided to work against the record industry in this regard are way out of line.
Why?
What they're suggesting is beyond censorship. They're going into realms of behavior modification. First, nobody holds a gun to your head and tells you have to buy it. Also, the media in covering this shows videos. This is about lyrics. It's not about pictures, remember? His comments were about what he saw. He's talking about these pictures that are stimulating. I think that's another story altogether. It began with lyrics.
But Mr. Zappa, many of these lyrics are sexually explicit.
So what?
Well, so what? A lot of parents are upset about that. Their children see this. They go out and act out violent acts, perhaps. That's what parents are upset about.
No. You're talking about sex or violence?
Both.
Okay, you said children see this. Are we talking about lyrics and records here?
No, they hear it.
They hear it and they go do a violent act because they hear about sex?
Well, people also hear about sex and violence, and people are upset that perhaps this might cause people to go out and do that. The parent's job is to make their child informed about sex. Sex is a normal body function. Don't make it into something it's not. But what is the problem? The movie industry is self-regulatory. Why not the labels? What harm would come to
I'll tell you exactly the harm that would come to everybody. If you're an actor in a movie and the movie gets a rating, it doesn't hurt you as a person. You're hired to pretend. If you're a musician and you write your material and you sing your material, you are taking responsibility for your art. You stamp an album with a thing, you are stamping a person with that thing, and it hurts the person. That's not fair. People have already put stickers on albums. They exist now. People send clean cuts records to radio stations. No mystery. It says these cuts are clean. That's been going on for years. The whole thing is a cover-up for H.R. 2911, which is a tax that nobody wants to know about.
But do you understand at all, in any way, shape, or form, that parents are concerned about some of these lyrics?
I think that the parents who are concerned about these lyrics should also take a look at their own responsibility to give their children accurate sexual information of a basic nature, so if a child knows what is normal, he'll be able to listen to something like that and say, that's aberrated, it's not for me, I don't like it, you know, it's too weird. But if you don't tell them anything and you take all sex out of media consumed by young people, you're going to create a bad mental health situation.
What about that, Senator? Is it the responsibility of the parents,
well, first
as
of all,
Mr. Zappa suggests, or should government be involved in this at all?
For one, nobody is suggesting that any law be passed. I don't know of any suggestion for legislation in this area. It's simply a matter of putting this on the public record. Nobody is suggesting the prohibition of making these records, writing these lyrics. This is not an issue of censorship. It is an issue of disclosure. It is to provide, hopefully, some mechanism so that at least people know what's going on.
But we are suggesting labels, are we not?
Pardon?
Are we suggesting labels?
Well, the suggestion of labeling has been made, but it's not been made in the form of any legislation. There are private groups that have been trying to urge this on the record companies. I happen to think that that's a good idea because I think that truth in labeling is important. After all, if we have labeling, warning labels on a little packet of saccharin, it seems to me that we should have some sort of warning on records that advocate, bought by young people, and advocate suicide, violent sex, Satanism, and so on. I think that it's just a matter of putting it all out there in the public.
Mr. Zappa, obviously you have an opposing viewpoint, as we've already heard, but is there anything that you'd be willing to give in on this situation about? Is there any way that you could appease parents groups, teacher groups?
No, I'm not here to appease anyone. I don't speak on behalf of the music industry or any other professional group. I speak on behalf of myself. As a parent, I have 4 children,
right,
and I want them to grow up in a country that has a working First Amendment. And I think that what's happening here is an incursion against the First Amendment, no matter how many wives or senators say it's not censorship. This hearing is pressure being brought on the record industry. They're saying, oh, we don't want any legislation, but we're sure going to stick it to you in Congress because there's a negotiation going on for the record industry bill, the Mathias bill in the Senate and H.R. 2911 in the House.
Thank you both very much for talking about this controversial subject, which you have very differing viewpoints on. Thank you for joining us this morning. It is now 17 after the hour, and we've got game show hosts coming up.